I would like to welcome you to this meeting of Council. The meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the voices and images of those participating in the meeting may be captured as part of this recording. Indigo Shire Council acknowledges the original custodians of these lands. The people of the rivers and the hills have walked these lands for thousands of years as well as today, and we pay respect to the elders, the past, present and emerging. As councillors, we have all taken an oath to carry out our duties in the best interests of the people of Indigo Shire and to do this in a fair and impartial manner. We are all committed to exercising the council's powers and functions to the best of our skills and judgment. Apologies, we have our Mayor, Councillor Price, and Councillor Tysell. Do we have any other apologies? Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest? No, we now have open forum, and we have a letter that has been sent to Council from Alison Jones. There are 3 questions, which I'll read out now. Question 1, regarding the Chiltern Community Hub building, corner of Main Street and Crawford Street, Chiltern. Can you please explain why, even though concerns and objections were communicated during the planning process as to the potential for light nuisance, have 10 wall-mounted, unshaded, high wattage lights being installed on the Crawford Road side of the building? These lights, along with the porch light, exit lights and interior lights, are left on every night, even though there is a security system and 5 security cameras installed. It's the first question, which will be responded to by Ian Allett, the Director of Infrastructure.
Would you like me to do one at a time, Mr. Mayor, or would you like to read all 3 and it might be just as easy to respond that way?
More than happy. Question 2, regarding the Chiltern Community Hub, can you please tell us what steps are going to be taken to reduce the light pollution and the impact on our lives, which will only get worse as the trees lose their leaves and grow above the level of the lights? Our home is directly across the road, Crawford Street side, and all our bedroom windows are on that side of our house. Question 3, regarding the Chiltern Community Hub, can you please explain why our numerous correspondence regarding the lights and the noise nuisance caused by out-of-hours construction have not been addressed in an adequate nor timely manner? The Director of Infrastructure, Ian Allett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've still got my mic on. Thanks, Alison, for your questions. So look, I think to try and respond to each of the questions, your first question is very much about the design of the building and any submissions or objections you might have made during the planning process. Look, I'm unaware. I haven't sort of had the detailed involvement in this process from its infancy. I suppose what I'd say about the design is the building design had to comply with the planning scheme, the zoning, and the planning permit and any conditions on it. So I suppose there is no contradiction in the building design inclusive of its lighting and any planning controls. But that's just really, I suppose, in answer to the planning question. I know you've got some concerns that you're still dealing with. Your second question was, I suppose, about the steps being undertaken. So my response to that is there's a couple of parts to this. So firstly, the building's brand new, and we're trying to just verify that what's there is what was actually designed and is working as intended. And I don't have any reason to think that's not the case. So I've had a look. The lights are obviously quite bright. They're LED lights on a new building, and I think they're on a PE cell, which means they come on, at dusk and run through till until dawn. So you've got that level of illumination all night, and I know that's what you've spoken about. So first thing is to check they're working sort of as designed. The next thing is to say, do they need to be on all night? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me to have that level of brightness, right through the night. And I think one thing you've talked about is perhaps having them, go off or at least some of them go off at a reasonable time so that the level of light overnight can going to have a lot less impact on you. So we're having a look at that. And right now I've got my project manager working with the contractor and the architect just to verify that. And I suppose the third part of that, until we've been able to ascertain those things, I think it's premature to then look at what else could we do. You know, do we put baffles up? Do we somehow look to provide some shielding to your windows and extend the fence? I think that's perhaps, hopefully unnecessary, but something we'd look at then. And the third question, I suppose, just relates to, you know, numerous correspondence about the lights and noise nuisance. Again, the staff I've had working on this since duration have either left or currently on leave. So I'm not familiar with any complaints you might have made about out of hours noise, but I guess right now we're dealing with the building that's almost finished. And I know you've certainly made contact in recent weeks with Bruce Brains, one of my staff, and myself. And we have, you know, responded to those calls and told you sort of what we're doing. So we just need, you know, to request a little bit further patience. We'll try and work through those issues and yeah, rid you of the, you know, the nuisance that you're facing at the moment with the light pollution spilling into the bedroom windows. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Alison, and hopefully things will improve in the near future. The next item is item 6, community and council achievements. Councillor Horn.
I just want to acknowledge volunteers and the organising committees of a couple of events that were held over the very successful Easter period. Firstly, I wasn't able to attend the Golden Horseshoe Festival, but I had just so many people telling me what a wonderful, wonderful day it was. So, yeah, thank you very much to those people who've organised it and all the people who gave their time up to make sure that it was an successful event. In Rutherglen, we had the geocaching experience. It was the first time we'd had this in Rutherglen, and that was also a wonderful, wonderful time. A delightful group of people who were very interested in what was going on and very polite and kept thanking everybody for volunteering. And the last acknowledgement is for, in light of the Victorian, let me get my notes out. Sorry, I've got a cold, so I'm a bit off key at the moment. There's a young chap called Joel Chambers, who is in his family business, that he's been there for about 6 years. And during that time, he's implemented lots of sustainable processes in the farm, which has eventuated in Lake Mudimi Estate being nominated as the only, or the first and the only certified sustainable winery in Northeast Victoria. And now he's up for an award, for a sustainability award. And I'd just like to, on behalf of everyone here in Indigo Shire, to congratulate Joel on his achievements so far. And also wish him every success on the big night, which is on the 29th of April. I think we'll be very keen to see where his future takes him. Thank you.
I'd just like to add regarding Golden Horseshoes Festival. I opened that festival and it's the biggest crowd that I've seen there. And they had a wonderful act with Mitch Tambo, who is probably one of the best singers that you would hear today. And the huge thousands of people who gathered around to listen to him was just amazing. Councillor Goldsworthy.
I'd like to acknowledge the achievement of our local mountain biker, Leah Ladbrook. She competed in the Oceania downhill mountain bike title over the weekend, and she at Toowoomba, and she took out the first place in the elite women category. So she's certainly a champion of the future to watch, and she'll be competing overseas, I believe, this year. And I reckon she'll bring home a few gold medals from that as well. So Leah is a local bred champion on our local tracks. The only other one worth mentioning is there's plenty worth mentioning, but Ollie Davis, who whilst he's an Albury local, he's competing in elite men's level. He took out second, and again, he's riding internationally. He rides locally on some of our tracks, and he's a great young fella. So congratulations to both of them.
Item 7, condolences. Councillor Croucher.
It is my privilege and honour to acknowledge John Voss, OAM from Waganya, who passed away recently at the grand old age of 94. John was a well-respected and hard-working volunteer for his community, in particular Waganya and surrounding districts. His achievements during this lifetime are really too numerous to mention. However, one couldn't finish without naming just a few of them. John was the Rutherglen representative chosen for the 1956 Olympic torch runner. He received life membership of the Waganya Tennis Club and the Corran District Tennis Association. He was awarded the Indigo Shire Council Volunteer of the Year in 1998. He received a Certificate of Appreciation, Voluntary Service to the Community, International Year of the Volunteers State Government Award. In 2004, Indigo Shire Council named a local footbridge in his honour. In 2013, John was awarded OAM for his services to the Waganya community. These are just a few of the wonderful achievements John accomplished during his lifetime. Vale John Voss. And could I
Would you like to move a motion
Yeah,
that a letter under seal be forwarded to Mr. Voss's family?
so could I move that, exactly what you said,
Yeah.
a letter under seal for John Voss's family? That would be fantastic.
And seconded by Councillor Horn. Is anybody against? Carried. Thanks, Councillor Croucher. Item number 8, the recommendation is that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of March 2023, as published on the council's website, be adopted. Moved by Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Goldsworthy. Is anybody against? Carried. Item number 8, do we have any business arising from those minutes? Nil. Do we have any petitions? Nil, thank you. 11.1, the recommendation is the council accepts the year-to-date March financial report, noting the progress against council's Q2 forecast. Would somebody like to move that recommendation? Moved by Councillor Croucher. Seconded by Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Croucher.
Yeah, well, the financial position is still favourable to the Q2 forecast, despite the variances seen in the service area and individual account lines.
Councillor Shepherd. Do we have, would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Would you like?
Nothing
Sum up?
more to add up, thank you.
All right. Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 11.2. The recommendation is that council refuses planning permit application PP 220032 and issues a notice of decision to refuse a permit to carry out works, replace roof materials from tiles to corrugated iron, new air conditioner and painting of exterior in a heritage overlay on the following grounds. The grounds are that insufficient information has been provided to assess the application, and the applicant has failed to respond to repeated requests for the further information required to assess the application. Somebody like to move that recommendation? Councillor Goldsworthy. Would somebody like to second it? Councillor Croucher. Councillor Goldsworthy.
It's a simple fact of failing to respond. So with little choice in the matter, we can't determine the application appropriately without the full information.
Councillor Croucher.
I think Councillor Goldsworthy has summed up pretty well, thank you.
All right. Would you describe this as an abandoned application? Yeah. Do you wish to sum up, Councillor Croucher? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 11.3, the recommendation that council refuses the application for approval of a development plan at 3515A Myrtleford Yakandanda Road, Yakandanda, in accordance with clause 43.04 Schedule 5 Rural Living Zone and the Indigo planning scheme as it applies to 3515A Myrtleford Yakandanda Road, Yakandanda, on the following grounds. The applicant has failed to respond to repeated requests for further information required to assess the application in accordance with the requirements of Schedule 5 of the Development Plan Overlay, Clause 43.04 Indigo Planning Scheme. Would somebody like to move by Councillor Goldsworthy, seconded by Councillor Croucher? Councillor Goldsworthy.
Ditto 11.2, failed to respond, abandoned application.
Councillor Croucher.
No, I have nothing more to add to that.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? You wish to sum up, Councillor Croucher? Is it Goldsworthy? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 11.4. The recommendation is that council refuses planning permit application PP 220129 and issues a notice of decision to refuse a permit for the 3-lot subdivision at 3515A Myrtleford Yakandanda Road, Yakandanda, on the following grounds. 1, the applicant has failed to respond to repeated requests for further information required to assess the application against relevant provisions of the Indigo planning scheme. And 2, a development plan has not been prepared to the satisfaction of council as the responsible authority. Clause 43042 of the Indigo planning scheme provides that a permit must not be granted to subdivide land until a development plan has been prepared to the satisfaction of the responsible authority. Would somebody like to move that recommendation? Councillor Goldsworthy, seconded by Councillor Croucher. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Ditto 11.2 and 3, with the addition of lack of an approved development plan. This has been abandoned.
Councillor Croucher.
Yes, I just did what Councillor Goldsworthy said. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to sum up? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 12.1. The recommendation is that council adopts the updated recreation infrastructure assessment tool, and 2, engages with clubs and community regarding the tool to prepare for further funding applications. Would somebody like to move that recommendation? Councillor Croucher. Somebody like to second? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Croucher.
Yes, I can see there's a need for council to have some sort of an assessment tool when making decisions on sport and recreation infrastructure projects. Therefore, I too would recommend that council updates the recreation infrastructure assessment tool, superseding the 2018 version.
Councillor Shepherd.
I think one of the good things about this tool being used is that we offer also our community development team through Active Indigo Officer Mark DeCampo at the moment to work closely with those rec reserve committees in assisting them and getting these criteria covered. So I think it's a pretty good system at the moment. And I think taking them down from 17 to 9, I'm told that the criteria now matches more the grant funding application. So I think it's great to have an objective viewpoint and absolutely criteria that the community can work towards in being assessed for their particular project.
Would anybody else like to speak to the recommendation, the motion? Councillor Croucher, would you like to sum up?
Just to say that I'd just like to congratulate the team of people who organised such a tool, and I think it's very, very important, particularly when sport and recreation is such a big thing within our shire.
Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 12.2, the recommendation is that council notes the internal assessment undertaken for the next place plan township. 2, undertakes a small town community planning pilot in 2023-2024 in Stanley and Barnawatha with the support of Emergency Recovery Victoria. And 3, considers undertaking place planning in Beechworth following the completion of these community plans. Would somebody like to move that recommendation? Moved by councillor Goldsworthy. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd, councillor Goldsworthy.
Look, I do have some reluctance in relation to this. I'm not overly enthused with the report that was presented to us because I feel as though there are two separate issues here. One is the community planning pilot, and I fully agree with that. It should go ahead. We've got the funding for it, and it's around supporting emergency recovery within Victoria for our smaller communities. The second part of it is around place planning for Beechworth, which I do think is a priority. Personally, I would like to see it occur in the next financial year. To put it off for another year doesn't enthuse me at all. It's around budget constraints and resources from what I'm told, but I'm still disappointed it's not occurring next year. Having said all that, I do believe that it should be the next cab off the rank. So hopefully that will occur within the 24-25 financial years. And all going well, we'll get a good result out of the Stanley and Barnawatha project, albeit that Stanley hasn't yet achieved township status.
Councillor Shepherd.
So I agree. I would prefer these as two separate motions because I see them as two separate things. One is community. One is working with communities' resilience and recovery, really, with an engagement with those two particular towns, working with those communities around a town plan from working with us from council perspective, not with a consultant. And I really think we're getting support from that from ERV, and I think that'll be a great pilot project. But I think that is also quite separate to what we've been doing with our placemaking work, and we are up to Beechworth as the next one. And I agree it would be good to move ahead with that, but having looked at the budget, it is very tight. So I can see it might need to go into next year's budget. But yeah, two great projects, but I think they are quite separate. And people, I did ask, does this, and I see in the report it says so, but does this mean that those communities don't get the opportunity to do place planning, the ones that we're doing the projects on? And no, they will also, depending on the tool that's put to them later on after Beechworth, they will have the opportunity to do place planning as well. So this doesn't preclude them from it. So they're two quite different projects. But either way, I do support that they both happen.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Goldsworthy, to sum up? No. Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 13.1, tender evaluation. The recommendation is that council awards contract 2223049001 for the Barnawatha netball and tennis courts redevelopment to Idwala Proprietary Limited for the lump sum of $736,277 excluding GST. That council authorises the CEO to sign the contract documents and affix the council's common seal. And 3, authorises the CEO financial delegation to approve contract variations up to a total of 10% of the signed contract value. Somebody like to move that? Moved by councillor Goldsworthy, seconded. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by councillor Croucher. Councillor Goldsworthy.
I think Councillor Croucher hit it on the head when he spoke about the recreation tool. We are a sporting shire. If you look at our netball and tennis courts within our shire, whether it be Yakandanda, Beechworth, Waganya, Chiltern, they've all been replicated. So we've got 2 courts at each facility, and this Barnawatha process will bring them up to standard as well with the rest of those in the Tallangatta League. So it's a great project that will be undertaken, and I think it'll be well regarded by the community when it's completed. So well done on the council for getting it through.
Councillor Croucher.
Yes, I believe I agree with what you have to say, Councillor Goldsworthy. I think this is tremendous for Barnawatta to get this large sum to put up for their netball and tennis courts. And I would like to wish them all the best in the future.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? I'd just like to say, or just repeat what has been said. This is an amazing amount of money, almost $750,000 for Barnawatta. They're a real sporting area. They've had good results for a number of years, and I think it's great that council has supported the community, gained government grants, and put in a fair amount of money ourselves. Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to sum up? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 13.2, the recommendation is the council notes the March Capital Works report and year-to-date progress in the delivery of the Capital Works program. Somebody like to move that recommendation? Moved by Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Croucher. Councillor Shepherd.
I'd like to welcome our new Manager of Capital Works and Waste, Nathan Mullane, who will be doing our next Capital Works monitor when we see it next. And also mention the fact that the Epic Trail is now completed and open on 15th of March. Bells Flat Road has been finished, which has been a massive project, and the community is very excited about having that done, and that the Gurumata major culvert replacement has happened. So goodness, a lot's happened recently. So yeah, congratulations to that infrastructure team and the work that they're getting done there.
Councillor Croucher.
Yes, Councillor Shepherd, you took those words right out of my mouth. I noted that those three major events have been completed, particularly the Epic Trail and that Bells Flat Road and the culvert replacement Gurumata. Events like these certainly have a great impact on our Capital Works program, especially when there's a shortage of delivery resources, increased labour and material prices. So I'd just like to congratulate those in charge of getting those big events completed in such good time.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Do you wish to sum up, Councillor Shepherd? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 14.1, the recommendation is the council receives the biannual report of the Audit and Risk Committee and thanks the committee for its work. Would somebody like to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Goldsworthy, seconder, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Goldsworthy.
It's only but for you being the chair tonight and Councillor Mayor Price being absent that I'm speaking to this, because you're representatives for it and have been for a long time and would do a far better job than I. But from everything that I see, and I trust that it works well, the Audit and Risk Committee, and I do thank them for their work because it's an important aspect and it's a legislative requirement. So thank you for everything.
Councillor Shepherd.
When you look at this report, there's been a lot done in a year, and I recommend if anyone's interested in reading, especially the chair's report, and he outlines the work that's been done, especially on the revised risk management policy and risk register, the strategic internal audit programs it has been completed, and the committee has completed its performance survey and demonstrated it successfully met its responsibilities and accountabilities. And they also acknowledge the continuing work of the senior council staff in supporting the committee, as do I. So it's very important having them there as a committee, being able to advise council as an external body looking at our risk and financial issues. So very much appreciate the work that our staff and that committee does. So, and our council representatives. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? I'd just like to make it a very quick comment that it's reassuring that a committee of this quality hold this council to account, and that's exactly what they do, and they do a great job of it. Councillor Croucher, Councillor Goldsworthy would like to sum up. Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 14.2, the recommendation is the council notes a Q3 2022-2023 council plan progress report. Somebody like to move that recommendation? Councillor Goldsworthy. We have a seconder. Councillor Croucher, Councillor Goldsworthy.
It is really important that we report back to the community on the actions within the council plan. When we look at 66% on track and 8 actions are behind schedule. But what I would say is of those 8 actions behind schedule, they are extremely important to our community, and I place them in high regard. So we look at things like our planning, trying to do more there, the public toilet improvement strategy, the prioritisation of urban and rural road sealing and footpath upgrades, better approval system for businesses to obtain planning permits, the development of a tree canopy strategy, the dark skies policy, and developing or updating the revenue and rating strategy. They're all super important. So I'll be keen to see those get done in the near future. Congratulations to the CEO and his staff for achieving what you have.
Councillor Croucher.
These are certainly the actions we're truly interested in, and I note, as Councillor Goldsworthy said, that 91% of them are either on track or completed. And I too would like to congratulate our CEO and the staff for doing such a great job.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 14.4, the recommendation is the council accepts the attached informal meetings of councillors' records. Somebody like to move that recommendation? Councillor Croucher, do we have a seconder? Councillor Horn, Councillor Croucher.
Nothing more to say there. The informal meetings are attached there.
Councillor Horn. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 14.5, advisory committee minutes. Without reading the entire recommendation, in parts that council receives the attached unconfirmed meeting minutes for the following advisory committees: the Indigo Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee, Indigo, and the Finance Committee. Then notes the committee's terms of reference documents as follows. This is the Heritage Committee, and there are other matters discussed there, almost a full page of them. Would somebody like to move that recommendation? Councillor Goldsworthy, seconder. Councillor Horn. Councillor Goldsworthy.
I can speak specifically to the recommendations that came out of the Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee. We're asked to review the terms of reference. This is a recommendation that was made by the committee, supported wholeheartedly, and it's just basically tidying up the wording a little bit and to ensure that there was a limit on the term for the deputy chair position. The rest of them, Finance Committee, we've already covered that really in last meeting, I believe.
Councillor Horn.
I'd just like to note that the calibre of people that we have on these committees is really very fortunate for us. We're very well represented in these groups, and their information and input is highly regarded.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Shepherd.
If you'd indulge me, I'd just like to read what the identified 2023 success measures from the 4-year plan for the Cultural Heritage Committee, which are part of those minutes. And I think it's worth reading them really. Cross-Shire support, advice on major cultural heritage tourism projects, plans and strategies, undertake assessment of council's heritage plans and strategies, reconciliation, provide advice during the implementation of the current RAP as required, access, review council's accessibility plans in regards to cultural heritage sites and work towards solving access issues at Yidumba site, and planning, assess planning documents, plans and strategies. So they are all the achievable measures for 2023 for the 4-year plan that this Cultural Heritage Committee is going to take on. And I think they're all very worthwhile.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Do you wish to sum up, Councillor Goldsworthy? Is anybody against the motion? Carried. Item 15, notices of motion. There are none. Item 16, councillors' reports. Do any councillors which wish to speak to any committees that they've been on recently? Item 16.1 is for information, the Mayor's Diary. Item 17, the decision register for information. Do we have any general business? I have a question in general business for the Director of Infrastructure. Could you tell us where the Rutherglen Kindergarten windows project that council adopted 2 council meetings ago, where that's up to, the Director of Infrastructure?
Yeah, sure. Pardon me. We had sought an urgent quotation from a glazing contractor. Unfortunately, they've had issues, I think, just with their own resourcing and possibly even health issues. So they've been unable to get us a quote. So our buildings and property officer has gone to another company and sought an urgent quote. So look, hopefully in the very near future, we'll have a quote that we can consider, and then, you know, hopefully after that, be able to get the works done to rectify the windows.
Do we have any other, Councillor Horn?
This is a question to the CEO. Can you please give us an update on the Main Street Rutherglen interaction with Regional Roads Victoria?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. Through you, Mr. Chair. I was in contact with the Regional Director of Department of Transport, Regional Roads Victoria, in the last week, and I was advised that that they are looking at doing some concept designs for possible works in Main Street, Rutherglen, as the preferred alternative for to deal with trucks in the main street. So the preferred alternative was to do works and pacify traffic and things like that. So the council passed a resolution some time ago now that they asked to see what they would look like before there's any sort of final decision. So they're looking at that at the moment.
Councillor Shepherd.
I just wondered, now you're talking on roads, about the detour that's occurring onto Reed's Way. I was just wondering if you could give us a bit of a summary of our responsibility and what if you know the timelines around the road being closed from the Beechworth-Wodonga Road and us all going off Reed's Way. If you, in terms of the safety, whether we're monitoring the safety of all those cars going down at one of our roads off Regional Roads Victoria Road, and do you know any time when they might be fixing the Beechworth-Wodonga Road?
CEO.
So I can probably answer 3/4 of that, but I might let Ian answer it. He can answer the whole lot and give you the latest update in regards to the safety discussion.
Thank you. I can't remember if I can recall all the question now. Look, I suppose, firstly around timing. So we are working closely with Regional Roads Victoria. Last conversation I had was Friday. They're still evaluating and assessing the works that they need to do. So unfortunately, they can't give us a time frame as yet as to how long. So, you know, I guess we can read into that. It's more likely to be medium to long term rather than the next sort of few weeks. But as soon as they get more information, I'm sure they will share that. Regional Roads Victoria, because the arterial traffic is diverted there, they're responsible ultimately for managing the safety and making sure the diversion that they've put in place is working as safely as it can. We will work with Regional Roads Victoria. We're still the road manager there, so as issues come up on the road, we would respond like we need to at any time. But we'll work closely with Regional Roads Victoria. Before or right at the start of the diversion period, we did an assessment of the road, which is generally in pretty good condition. Regional Roads did the same, so we've both got a pre-startup, effectively condition audit of the road. So if it is sustain any, or if it does sustain damage just due to prolonged heavy vehicle traffic, then we'd certainly talk to Regional Roads Victoria about that. I think just in terms of the heavy traffic, because there's a further culvert issue further along Beechworth-Wodonga Road near Star Lane, that's got a half road closure and also a weight limit. So it does actually limit at the moment the heavy vehicles on that road to 20-tonne capacity. So we haven't got the ultra heavy vehicles, but look, nonetheless, there's a lot of traffic. They have reduced the speed on it to 80 k's, and we'll collectively continue to monitor that it operates and functions as safely as it can.
Okay.
Was that all?
Yeah, that's it.
Do we have any other general business? If not, we will move to item 19.1, which is confidential. It's regarding the Australian Day Review Working Group Committee. Before a recommendation to move into confidential, I just want the community know that the reason we're going into confidentiality is that we called for members of the community to join a working group with the correspondence with those persons and their applications. There's personal details, and those personal details are of a confidential nature. And because people apply for places on the committees, it doesn't mean that their personal business will be exposed to the community. Would somebody like to move that we move into confidential? That the council meeting be closed to the public in accordance with section 66 of the Local Government Act. Moved by Councillor Horn. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Croucher. Do you wish to speak to it, or will we just no? Is anybody against that motion? Carried. This meeting is now closed. After the confidential item has been resolved, we will return to this council meeting. Thank you. We have now come back to the council meeting. The confidential item meeting, the recommendation was the council adopt a revised version of the Australia Day Working Group's terms of reference. 2, appoint the following applicants to the Australia Day Review Working Group and maintains confidentiality until appointees are notified, following which the appointments will be made public, and 4, make the revised terms of reference public once adopted. Council voted on that and the vote was unanimous. And once the appointees have been notified, the persons involved in that working group will be made public. We've done general business. I now close the meeting at 7:26. Thank you all for those who tuned in. Thank you.